Hi everyone, I just want to do a quick video. I did a live stream last night and I edited the video and released it earlier today, but I've since found out that actually there was a piece of information in that live stream and the video it's just come out that's wrong, unfortunately. I do make mistakes every now and then. It's not necessarily a mistake, it's just we've had more information come out since I actually did that live stream last night, because the Jaunes spokesperson, he's being called the spokesperson, I think really prominent member of the yellow vests would be a better description. So he was hit in the eye, and I reported, and everybody was reporting yesterday that it was a flashball that actually caused the injury. Now I showed the video. I'm going to show the video again here.
Arrêtez-vous. Non, non, attends.
Laisse ton truc là, touche-toi la tête, laisse ton truc.
Eh, enculé avant. Enculé avant.
Now, as you can see, a flashball actually does go off at the same moment, but he was apparently hit by a rubber bullet at the same time. What is that? Oh, there you go. So I just want to go to France 24 for this. Prominent French anti-government yellow vest activist, badly injured in the eye at the protest, was struck with one of the controversial rubber bullets used by police. So it wasn't a flashball. It says Rodriguez, a 40-year-old construction worker, was placed in an artificial coma. He's in shock. He will be handicapped for life. I think he will be blind in that eye, or he's going to lose the eye. DeVille says Rodriguez was struck by a flashball, referring to the 40mm rubber projectiles used by French riot police. The devices, which are not used in most European countries, have become deeply controversial. I mentioned this in my live stream. They're actually a tactic that the IDF uses, and the IDF have been exporting their tactics around the world. But it goes on to say here, further down in the article, Rodriguez, speaking to LCI television from hospital, said he was also hit by a sting ball grenade, another controversial riot control device. Everything happened very quickly, he said. They threw a grenade at me, which you just saw in the video, and I took a rubber bullet. I was attacked twice, a grenade to the foot and the bullet. Now, I showed an extended piece of that video. Hopefully I won't get a strike for it, but he wasn't rioting. He was standing there. There was about 20 of them. I've seen it from different angles as well. There's about 20 people just standing there. And the police rushed across in front of them. They stood there and watched the police rush across. And then those other police stopped, looked, threw a flashball and fired a rubber bullet at somebody standing there not doing anything. This is worse, in my opinion. Even though I got the information wrong last night, as everybody did, this is worse, because this is him being, this is an unarmed man standing, filming what is going on, not doing anything at that time. Nobody around him was doing anything, and he's been shot in the head and blinded by a rubber bullet. You think they're going to cover it in the media over here? Now, France have obviously, as I've shown you, France 24 have shown it. Now, I've looked at the BBC. Go to the BBC. Let's just refresh this just to see if anything does come up. So they're covering the red scarves. These dumbass liberals who think that they can quietly protest and that's going to get rid of the yellow vests. Apparently there was 10,000 of them, they say. Really? You're over-exaggerating that and underestimating the yellow, how many are in the yellow vest by any chance. But apparently these people think that they can put on a yellow scarf and quietly demonstrate and walk around like, you know, characters in West Side Story. Like there's some sort of... It's ridiculous. So they've covered that story. I mean, they've covered other stories. They have covered a story about the shock at the injuries. There were over 40 injuries, and that was on the 18th of January, so there have been more since from these flashballs, but they're still using them. But that's it. That is the only report on the BBC I can see of any injuries at all. They've Yellow vests knock out 60% of speed cameras. They've reported on the vandalism that the yellow vests have caused. But that's it. They're not. Usually, with the media, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it bleeds, it leads. But they're not. This guy has been shot in the head by a rubber bullet for standing there and filming the police, doing nothing, just standing there in his yellow vest, watching the police run past him. And one of them then has threw a flashball at him and shot him in the head with a rubber. Then he's been shot in the head with a rubber bullet at the same time. Do you think he was targeted? Do you think the policeman that fired the bullet is going to face any charges? Do you think we'll ever find out who it was? The reason I keep asking these questions is something strange is going on. They're not reporting on any of these injuries. Very few. The only outlet that I've seen that are covering not just the injuries, but also the violence from the police against the protesters. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of violence. The only outlet I've seen covering it well so far is RT. Now, The Independent have come out and done a few articles as well, which is not surprising because they are the tallest kid in class and probably the best of our media, but that's not a high bar to clear. And believe me, they only just scrape over it. But none of the other outlets really are. And what you've got, what I keep asking myself is this: if that was the leading, if that was a prominent member of the opposition in Venezuela that's just been shot in the eye by a rubber bullet at the same time as having a flashball explode right at his feet, do you think they would cover it then? Of course they would. Of course they would. It would be front page news. They're all jumping on board the coup, the regime change in Venezuela narrative. The Guardian especially, which at this point just may as well, you can keep the G, but just put CHQ after it because that's all you are. They've written story after story on Venezuela, you know, backing this regime change, giving no historical context. I've seen one opinion piece from The Guardian that says otherwise, that's it. But the rest of them, they're not covering these sort of injuries in these yellow vest protests. Why not? Why not? I saw this in the Metro, because you know what my mind is thinking. I've covered D notices on the Skripals, on Steele dossier. You know, these D notices, they're rife, and I've covered how these D notices that the government put on our media to say, oh no, you can't report on that because it's in the name of national interest. You can't report on that. It's an advisory notice. They don't have to abide by it, but they are. Whenever D notices are made, they all do. The only time they didn't was with announcing Christopher Steele's name, but that's because his name was well known. But he's the one on the yellow vest. That's what people keep asking. And the Metro today have published something on this. They say, is there a sinister conspiracy at work to silence reporting of yellow vest protests with the BBC and others gagged by government D notice last year? Wow. The media are actually going to ask that question? Let's see what they say. No, of course there isn't. But that hasn't stopped a bonkers conspiracy theory circulating and being forwarded by people who should know better. This is not bonkers, okay? This is people asking questions, and I'm now asking questions, and I am not bonkers. The media are not covering the violence with these yellow vest protests. They're not. People are going to start jumping to conclusions. And they are, as they go on to say in this article. They can say, they give an overview of what the D notice is. They talk about this. I'll talk about this in a second. I don't know who this is from. This is something that was tweeted out that I came across as well. So they've obviously given these bonkers conspiracy people who say that there's a D notice on that. But look at what they say at the very bottom. Look at what they say. At the very bottom, they say various activists and conspiracy theorists claim that media had been silenced over the number of deaths in the Grenfell fire, for instance, despite most outlets running back-to-back coverage. And then it says this. Again, The Salisbury Novichok attack saw right-wing blogs and chemical weapons truthers claiming a D-notice was in force. So they're saying there wasn't one on Grenfell fire, there wasn't one on the Novichok attacks, and there isn't one on covering the violence of the Yellow Vest movement in France. There isn't any D-notices there at all whatsoever. Really? There's not? This is Wikipedia, Metro, you idiots. On the 7th of March and 14th of March, 2 notices were issued to protect MI6 in relation to some aspects of the Skripal affair. I've known about that since April last year. And you're saying that it's a conspiracy theory? That people think that there's D-notices on the Skripal incident, Metro? Is it any wonder that you have to give your paper away for free? Because nobody would fucking buy it. Something's going on. Something's not right. Like I say, the media, if it bleeds, it leads. I'll come to this because this is on that Metro article, and it is really interesting. Now, it's an anonymous source, it's unverified, and I rarely do this. In fact, I don't think I've ever done it. But I want to do it because the Metro have highlighted it as an instance of a crazy conspiracy theory. This is their instance of a crazy conspiracy theory. Now, like I say, it's unverified, and it's unverified, and it's an anonymous source. So put as much weight into this as you want to. Okay? It's just knocked me off, and I'll read this notice. In fact, I'll just read this out to you because it's actually really quite small. So it says this. In fact, can I right. It says this. On the other monitor. I can't read it from over there. I work at Media City, BBC, north of Manchester. So this is what this guy is saying. I can absolutely confirm that the British media has been handed a D-notice legal gagging order to prevent reporting on inflammatory incidents such as injured, killed protesters. And this was on the 8th of December, this guy is saying it. And he's saying he works at BBC north of Manchester at BBC Media City. He says the government is treating this as a security threat to all European governments and are trying to prevent a European spring. So similar to the Arab Spring, which rose up and then was hijacked by the Americans to try and regime change in Syria and other countries. And preparing multiple pre-written stories in case of a major incident forces them to break the D-notice, and it involves framing it as a far right, portraying the violence as perpetrated by FN supporters, Russia fake news fueling it, etc. So that's what he's saying. You know, this, you know, what the Metro call is a conspiracy theory. He continues at the bottom, he says, a big spiderweb diagram brief on a projector is in the World Politics Writers' Room preempting what type of incident might occur and what pre-written articles will follow. Large unarmed civilian deaths is on a red diamond. Large unarmed civilian deaths is on a red diamond, and that occur, it lights up and lines to narratives in green circles. So what he's saying is there's this diamond, there were diamonds, and if the red diamond goes off, then that is civilian deaths, and they've got narratives to go from that. And if a silver diamond goes off, then that is to do with mass police defections, they call it. So police putting down the batons and moving over. They're saying that they've basically got stories written for that to cover it up as well. Now, like I say, I don't know who that guy is. I don't know whether it's verifiable. There's no way to verify it. I don't know whether it's true or not. So you can put as much weight into that as you want. I'm not going to say that, you know, that this is for definite. But it does fit. It does fit. And it does sort of explain why the media are not covering this the way they normally would do. Because as I say, if that was a prominent member of the opposition in Venezuela who that happened to, you can guarantee the media would be all over it like white on rice. Something dodgy is going on, don't you think? Let me know what you think in the comments. I honestly think something's going on here with the media. They are not acting right, and they haven't for quite some time. For more truly honest, independent media like the video you just saw, please subscribe and click the bell below as well so you get a notification of when I drop further videos. If you also like and share and comment on the video as well, that really helps with the algorithm and boosts exposure. And if you can support me, please do so. You can do with any of the avenues on the screen at the moment and below this video. You can support me for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, and every dollar helps. We need your support at the moment. We do not have an operating fourth estate. I'm sure you're aware, a functioning media holding power accountable is vital for democracy. At the moment, we haven't got it, so people like me are having to fill their shoes and do the job for them with your support. Thanks very much for your support. Till next time, peace and take care.